Welcome back F11 members to part 2 of the fundamentals of post-production for issue 25, February 2014. Okay, so in part 1 we looked at the business of making small copies, resizing images down for use on the web. What we're going to do today is, or in part 2 now, is make images big for printing. So I've got this picture of the Umbrian village of Abeto in front of me, and I want to make a print. So the first thing that needs to be determined is what size print we're doing. So let's, for example, assume I wanted to make an A3 print. And so the first thing I would do is go to image size, and I want to resize this picture to the physical dimensions of that print. So this time what I do is I go to and I change this from pixels to centimeters. Okay, I'm keeping my resolution at 300 dpi, which is pretty much a good resolution to print at. Now an A3 print is 42 centimeters wide. I know that off the top of my head. So if I just change that to 42, it's resized at 42 by 28 centimeters, and there you go. That's fine. It's slightly smaller. It's gone down from 63 to 47 megabytes, so that's fine. And I would just carry on then with the printing process, which, by the way, we will be going through in a subsequent fundamentals of post-production video tutorial in the coming months. But right now let's just cancel that and assume I wanted to make a bigger print. For example, I want, out of argument's sake, to do one that's, say, 60 centimeters wide. So go to image adjustments here, and again image size. Again, click on centimeters here, and at the moment what it has here is the biggest size that I can print given the pixel dimensions of my sensor determined by the camera and the resolution I want to print at, 300 dpi. And the biggest I can go without having to size the picture up is here, 48.77 centimeters wide. Now I want to go bigger. Can I? Well, yes, and this is what's called interpolation. And what in effect we are doing is making the picture bigger than it is and asking Photoshop to fill in the gaps in between. And that's called interpolation. How much you can interpolate? Well, there's a question, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. So first of all, I go to width and I just put 60 centimeters in there, and you can see it's made the image bigger. It's now gone up from 63 megabytes to 95.8 megabytes. But the thing is, Photoshop CC has now got a function built in, an interpolation function built in, which is designed specifically for enlarging images. And it's this one, preserve details brackets enlargement. So I'm going to click on that. It's also got a function here, reduce noise. We'll come to that in a minute. For the moment, ignore it and leave it on 0%. And so I'm interpolating the image up by about 50%. It's going to be half as big again as the original file size. And what in the past we've had to do when we interpolated images up was to purchase specialist software. I remember 10 years ago having to use a software program called Genuine Fractals to size images up. I mean, the camera sensor sizes were much smaller back then anyways. Let's just cancel that and consider how we would make an image much bigger. Now I've made pictures, prints up to over 1 meter wide using from my images produced with my 1DS Mark III and now my 5D Mark III. So let's do that. Let's go to, again, select centimeters and go to a width of 1.2. Let's see. Sorry, 120 centimeters. Okay, so that's now become, you can see up here, a very big image. 383 megabytes. That's let me think about that. We're going up by a factor of twice, over 200%, aren't we? So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to work on that for a minute. It's obviously filling in all the gaps, and we're going to look at what kind of quality we get, what we lose, and just try and get a handle on just how big we can go. Really, I would suggest to you that you experiment with this and just get one big print made. You will be amazed what is possible. Clearly, the more pixels we've got, the better, and then this is one particular case where the 36 megapixels of the D800 would be an advantage. Of course, you have to ask yourself, how often do you actually make prints this big? But there you go, that's for you to decide. Now I'm going to go up to 100% here, and at 100% you can see that viewed at this magnification you can start to see the image, just a little bit of softness creeping in, but really it's pretty amazing. And I think if you saw this in the context of a giant print, you would be amazed. If I just go back to where we started, the history planet. Sorry, my computer's munching on this. So that's the image displayed at its native resolution, and this is the image displayed at its interpolated up. So now what I'm going to do is just fine-tune the sharpening on this. So if I go now to Filter, Sharpen and Unsharp Mask, because I've sized this image up so much, I just need to double check that my sharpening is adequate, because clearly we're making a very big picture here, but it would be a disaster to over sharpen the picture. We added, as you know, at the initial post-production stage, added a touch of sharpening, and at this stage I'm now fine-tuning it because of the size of reproduction. So what I want to do is I'm going to keep that radius setting of just 1 pixel and then slide this slider here and see the effect it has. For example, at 100%, click the preview button on and off, and I can see it does tend to tidy up the edges a touch, but the trade-off is you start getting artifacts, and I use the term grittiness in some of the even tones there. So I think 100% is too much. Just by the way, you can move this preview thing around here, and just by clicking on and off the window there, it shows you with and without sharpening. So it's best to err on the side of caution with sharpening. I'm going to bring it down to about 60% and see the effect that has. The preview button here affects the full screen version, and 60%, just still a bit too much. I'm going to bring it down to 50. And how much you do this is again subjective and also very much dependent on the size of the image that you're dealing with. So preview on and off, and I think that's about right. It's a very, very minimal, subtle adjustment that if I now come right out, clearly that's a massive image there. So that's it, that's sizing up images, and I think that new function in Photoshop is quite a significant thing to be aware of. Let's just go back over it. There we go, there's the original image, unsized, just the native resolution, the master TIFF. I want to size it up. I go image, image size, and using this sample function here, preserve details enlargement, I go click on that, I reset the size I want, and I'm going to ask it to go up to 100 centimeters wide. That's 1 meter wide. I click on that. It takes some time because it's reprocessing the image and basically thinking about what detail needs to be put into the gaps in the pixels as it's expanded. So I'll just pause you while the computer thinks about that. So there's my image. I'm going to zoom in to 100%. And just that's 200%, that's 100%, and check my detail, and I'm now going to go filter, unsharp mask, sharpen, unsharp mask, and just fine tune the amount of sharpening I've got there. You always need to look with your sharpening not just at the edges but your even tones, this kind of area up here. Too much sharpening can really can look horrible, and I'm just gonna, as I decided, somewhere around the 50% mark for my sharpening there, fine tune that, and that is now that image sized and ready to go, and we'll look at the whole business of printing subsequently. So that's resizing up and down. You can see this figure up here, 266 megabytes. If you consider that the image was started at 63 megabytes, that means it's been doubled in size, actually increased in size by 200%, not doubled in size. Now Adobe reckons, using this new preserve details function, enlargements up to 350% are possible. I would take that with a pinch of salt, but it's worth a try certainly. And I would say that I've made pictures like this, prints this large, and I am amazed with the quality at around about the meter wide mark. So I'd give it a go if I were you. Okay, so that's the whole business of resizing, and we'll see you next month with further fundamentals of video post-production. Fundamentals of post-production video tutorials. Thank you.